Their next pay-per-view is Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. And after that, it's Survivor Series in Chicago. And until we get to Chicago, we are going to be hearing a lot about CM Punk. Surprisingly, not last night. Not a single person at the so-called media scrum last night asked about CM Punk, which, given his status, and I guess we don't know exactly what his contract status with AEW is. He was fired, but is he under a non-compete still? We don't know. We're sort of assuming he's a free agent who can go wherever he wants, but do we really know that for 100% that he's totally free and clear? I'm not sure, but it would be a valid thing to ask about, you would think, right? If you're having a press scrum, they were more interested in asking about important things like Taylor Swift, if you were wondering about the state of these scrums. Dave Meltzer is reporting that those in WWE have said no deal is completed, and those close to Punk have told him that it is Punk's intention to come back, and the two sides are, quote, in talks. House of Wrestling, which is basically Punk's PR office when he wants to get something out to the masses, said those they've spoken with from Punk's side do not feel the incidents that led to his AEW departure would be held against him if he wanted to come back. And one WWE source told Nick Hausman they feel it's a safe bet that Punk will be at Survivor Series. Now, he did not say if that meant as a performer or a fan. Maybe he'll drop by to visit again backstage. That would technically mean he'd be at Survivor Series. Because Fightful says that as of 2 weeks ago, nobody within WWE indicated that CM Punk and the company had any discussions at all. In late September, they were told it appeared that there were feelers out from Punk to WWE to see if there was any interest. One WWE employee, as of last month, advised someone close to Punk that talking to Vince McMahon directly would have been the best course of action if you really wanted to come back to the company. Which makes sense because Vince is still the man in charge. Even though Endeavor owns it now, they have placed him in a position where he is still firmly in charge. And he is every bit as powerful now as he was the day that Punk walked out of their last meeting together in 2014. Vince is the one that did not want to do business with Punk years ago when it came to the FS1 thing. The Fox people wanted to work with Punk. Ultimately, they got, the company's blessing. They got Vince's blessing to go ahead and negotiate with him, and they brought him in, and he did the show for a while. But any talk of a potential return, could this lead to a CM Punk return to WWE? That died out pretty quickly. And Punk was still talking smack about the company also, which did not endear him to management. But Fightful went on to say that nobody in WWE has been told a return is happening, and most top talent are opposed to it. But they don't feel it's impossible, with the understanding that there are fences that would have to be mended before such a thing could ever occur. One top star said that Punk knows he would not be able to pull any of his shit here. There's nobody here he could jump without getting his ass handed to him. The feeling is he would have to make good with a number of influential talents, including Roman Reigns. Within AEW, one top star said that before Brawl Out happened, Punk would still talk about how much he did not like WWE. He did not like Vince McMahon. He did not like Triple H. And they would be surprised if he went back there. I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wanted to go back to WWE. In fact, I'm sure he's floating these things with the hope that it will spark discussions between the two sides. He's trying to make something happen here. Where else is there for him to go? Realistically, he's got nowhere else to go at that level, making that kind of money with that kind of visibility. Impact is not a realistic option. MLW is not an option. New Japan, I don't think, is a realistic option. If he wants to work full-time for a major promotion, making major promotion money, it's WWE. That's it. And he does not want his career to end in a ball of flames like it did with AEW. You don't have to know the guy personally to understand that. He doesn't want the final chapter of his career to be that he was fired by Tony Khan, or that Jack Perry was the cause of his downfall, or that the Jackson brothers from Rancho Cucamonga screwed him over. He does not want to go out like that. He wants to go back to WWE, make big money, and stick it to AEW for, I'm sure in his mind, what they did to him. So he's willing to make nights with Vince McMahon and Triple H if that's what it takes. Of course he is. He probably had that on his mind when he paid them a visit all those months ago. Remember, he wanted to meet with Triple H. Triple H told him, look, I have to check with the big guy first. And that's when he was asked to leave. So he never did get that meeting that he wanted. I don't believe that there have been any formal talks yet between CM Punk and WWE, but I also don't think it's out of the question that he ends up back there. Just because they haven't had any serious discussions so far, if I don't believe that they have, and Fightful seems to indicate that that's the case, it doesn't mean that they won't talk. It doesn't mean that at some point in the next few months they may not get together and say, hey, let's see if we can work something out. Because at the end of the day, if there's money to be made, and if Punk is willing to make nice with all the people who don't like him, and there are many there, apparently, then yes, we may get CM Punk back at a WWE ring. It is not impossible to conceive that in 2024, we will see CM Punk wrestling in WWE again. But I think all of this noise that we are hearing, it's a combination of Punk floating things to get people talking and to see if WWE is interested, and also a lot of fan speculation. Because Survivor Series is in Chicago, and there have been a lot of times over the years where things have sparked because of fan speculation. Just off the top of my head, I remember 2011 when they started airing those videos of the shack in the woods and everybody thought that meant Sting was coming to WWE and they were like, oh my God, we're going to get Sting and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. The plan was never to do Sting and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. It was to build up to Undertaker against Triple H. But if I recall, I think there may have been people from WWE who got in touch with Sting, who I think was still under contract at that time. He was probably doing the one-year renewals with TNA. Dixie Carter kept giving him new contracts. But they may have reached out to him and said, hey, what's your status? Is this something you'd be interested in? But it just didn't work out. But it was the fans who were just talking about it nonstop. They almost willed it into existence. They were almost able to manufacture it. It just didn't work out. There are a lot of times where the fans will let their imaginations run wild with something, even if it's not really there. And sometimes it'll spark something, and sometimes it won't. But a lot of this is being fueled by fan speculation because they realize that Survivor Series is in Chicago. The minute that Punk got fired, people were already talking about Survivor Series. It's a combination of those two things. I don't think there's any deal in the works right now. But there is something going on with these not-so-subtle Punk references on TV. I don't think it means that he's signed or anything is imminent, but there's definitely something going on here. It could just be WWE messing around, or one of the writers messing around, or Seth Rollins messing around, but it's all centered around Rollins so far. There was one promo recently, he said that his 100% makes him the best in the world. And then on Monday, he's in the ring with Michael Cole. Cole brought up all the nicknames he's used to describe Rollins over the years, puppeteer being one of them, but saying now Rollins is the puppet, in this rivalry with Nakamura. And it's been pointed out since then that in Punk's famous Ring of Honor promo from 2005, he referred to himself as the one pulling the puppet strings, and how all the fans were his puppets. And then Friday night, during SmackDown, when the announcers were previewing the Rollins Last Man Standing match for Fastlane, Corey Graves dropped the famous line from The Usual Suspects. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he did not exist. Which is a line that Punk famously borrowed near the end of his Ring of Honor run. Long before MJF started using it and calling himself the devil, CM Punk co-opted it and was using it in Ring of Honor. There's no way that all of these things are coincidences. And all three happen to either be said by Seth Rollins or were in reference to Rollins in some way. I think it's being done intentionally just to mess with people, if nothing else. But I do think if CM Punk does come back to WWE, Seth Rollins, even though he doesn't like Punk, you could add him to the list. Seth Rollins is someone that he would be working with pretty soon, if not right away, after he comes back. So if Punk comes back, if you ask me who do I see him working with, Rollins is the first name that comes to mind. Now, would that be for the World Heavyweight title? I mean, how do you bring him in and reward him with a championship match or a WrestleMania main event right off the bat like that? What kind of message does that send? If he comes in and he wrestles Seth, then Seth wins. Rollins was the company guy last year when they brought back Cody Rhodes, and he lost to Cody at WrestleMania. He lost to Cody 3 straight times. He lost to Cody with a torn pec. WWE bringing back CM Punk and putting him over Seth Rollins is something I cannot see him agreeing to. That would just be a slap in the face. I don't think AEW signing Adam Copeland makes it more likely that WWE is going to bring back CM Punk. I think they have their own opinion as to whether or not they want to do business with him, and whatever decision they ultimately make, one will have nothing to do with the other, because that's another question I've gotten this week. Do I think that Edge going to AEW makes it more likely that CM Punk goes to WWE? No. I don't think it makes them any more or less likely to bring him back. Would a CM Punk return be a big deal? Absolutely. It would be his first time back on WWE television in over a decade. Of course it would be huge. They hit Cult of Personality, the place would go nuts. You know, after all the bad blood, all the comments that he's made about them, even on AEW television, right up until the bitter end, he was making comments about WWE and taking shots here and there. He was talking crap about that company and how they haven't even really changed. He said that after Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out when he stuck up for them. He goes, this company hasn't changed. They don't like him and he doesn't like them. And as we saw with Punk and AEW, when he is around people that he doesn't like or that don't like him, things don't end well. And he also had a level of creative freedom in AEW with Collision that he would not have in WWE. So, and again, that's not something that can't be overcome. It's not maybe that big of a deal to him. Cody Rhodes was an EVP in AEW. He wore a lot of hats. He had a lot of power and a lot of responsibilities. In WWE, he's just Cody Rhodes. He's just a performer, and he's doing just fine. So I'm sure CM Punk would be fine, and he would adapt well without having that same level of freedom. For WWE, it's a risk-reward thing. Is it worth the risk, bringing him in after what happened in AEW? And also with a number of people on the roster who don't like him. This isn't the WWE of 30 years ago where they need a real shot in the arm because business is down or they're in a life or death war with another promotion. This company is on rock solid ground. They're making money hand over fist. They're selling out buildings or nearly selling them out every single week. They don't need CM Punk. He doesn't have a lot of leverage here. They don't need him. But CM Punk walking out in Chicago would set the world on fire. CM Punk coming out as a surprise in the Royal Rumble would set the world on fire. Those would be huge moments. And hey, it would be good for me too, be good for my business. If WWE wants to bring back CM Punk, I guarantee you it'll be Christmas for every single content creator. They want to bring him back? Hey, go for it. I'll have content for weeks. A Punk return would do big business for everyone, but there are a lot of other considerations that WWE would have to make before they make that move. And right now, it sounds more like Punk trying to will something into existence than anything concrete that's actually being discussed.